I had a fight with my boyfriend and I told him to get out. He sneered. This house is bought by me. If anyone should leave, it's you. My heart instantly turned cold. It turned out that he had never regarded me as one of his own. What's his is his. He has always been very clear about this in his heart. As he wished. I moved out. Later, he begged to transfer the house to me. But I never looked back. One after getting off work and returning home, I pushed the door open and was greeted by a room full of noise. Leo and several of his colleagues were eating hot pot at home and chatting animatedly. When those people saw me enter, they raised their heads and greeted me. Sister-in-law is back. Come and eat together. I forced a smile. You guys eat. I'll go change my clothes. When I got to the bedroom, I didn't even have the strength to change clothes and just lay down on the bed. When I was at work today, I felt dizzy. In the afternoon, my throat was dry and painful. I knew I had caught a cold. After getting off work, I went to the drugstore to buy some cold medicine and took it with mineral water. Now, I really have a splitting headache, heavy eyelids, and don't want to move at all. After a while, Leo pushed the door and came in. What's wrong? He walked to the bedside. Everyone is calling you to come and eat together. I don't want to eat. My voice was weak. I have a cold and don't feel well. Caught a cold? Leo reached out and touched my forehead. Do you have a fever? Is it serious? No fever. Just feel weak all over. I said. Then you have a good rest. He squatted down and said softly. The guests haven't left yet. I have to accompany them. I nodded. The sound in the living room was very noisy. My head was about to explode and I couldn't fall asleep. So I endured it all the time. In addition, I was still thinking that after they left, I still had to clean up the mess and couldn't fall asleep at ease. It was after 11 o'clock, when I finally heard the sound of them saying goodbye outside. Finally, the house was restored to silence. I forced myself to get up and walk to the living room. The dining room was in a mess. On the table were the leftovers they had eaten. There were oil stains splashed everywhere. And there were garbage, cigarette butts, and beer cans all over the floor. I took a deep breath and felt my head hurt even more. Leo was taking a bath in the bathroom. I sat on the sofa, listening to the sound of running water inside. I was extremely irritable. When he came out, I said, "You clean up the dining room. I'm really too sleepy today, and don't feel like moving." "Don't worry, baby. You go take a bath and sleep. You don't need to worry about these," he assured me. Thinking of his past style, I really couldn't be at ease. But I was really tired physically. I nodded and went to take a bath. When I came out of the bathroom and saw that the dining room was still the same as before, my anger surged up immediately. I knew it. Pushing open the bedroom door, Leo was already lying on the bed and playing with his phone. "Didn't you say you would clean it up?" I felt the anger inside me was about to burst out. "It's too late today. Let's clean it up tomorrow. Anyway, it's Saturday tomorrow and there's plenty of time." He didn't even raise his head and still stared at his phone. "Leo, do you know how high the temperature is in summer? Do you know how bad it will smell when you wake up tomorrow?" I stubbornly stared at him. "You clean it up now. I won't go." He was impatient. "Oh, I said you don't need to worry about it. I promise to clean it up tomorrow. Isn't that what you always say? And then you just leave it there and in the end, it's always me who cleans it up." I was so angry that tears were about to flow down. "I beg you. I really don't feel well today. Otherwise, I would have cleaned it up long ago. I am a bit of a cleanliness freak and can't stand a messy and dirty home. Since I moved in and live with Leo, I have been responsible for all the housework at home. The floor is mopped once a day. The garbage is taken out once a day. And there is a big cleaning every weekend. So the home is always bright and clean, neat and tidy." Leo once hugged me and said proudly, "Wife, you are great." You really give me face. People who have been to our home all say that I am lucky to find a virtuous wife. He also said that the home doesn't need to be cleaned so often. Mopping the floor every 2 or 3 days is fine. Look. The floor isn't dirty. There's no need to mop it. Every time I mop the floor. He would say that. He also once patted his chest and promised me to take turns doing housework with me. But every time it was his turn. He would always say that the home was very clean and didn't need cleaning. The garbage can wasn't full yet and didn't need to be emptied. In the end, it always ended with me not being able to stand it and taking the initiative to clean up. Slowly, the cleaning at home became my job alone. And Leo completely shirked his responsibility. 3-0. Let's sleep. Ignoring my pleas, Leo simply put down his phone and, as if escaping, covered his head with a blanket. Looking at him lying motionless on the bed pretending to be dead, a deep sense of powerlessness welled up in my heart. Sighing, I resigned myself and went to the dining room. After midnight, I dragged my sickened and uncomfortable body and slowly cleaned up the dining room, while wiping the table. Tears couldn't help flowing down. The more I thought about it, the more wronged I felt. I don't know why. After two people who once loved each other live together, there will be so many unhappiness. Living together is not as sweet and beautiful as I imagined. There are only more and more housework and exhaustion all over. I found that I became unhappy. Perhaps this is just my own thought. Leo did say that living with me feels extremely relaxed. I help him stabilize the rear so that he has no worries and can focus on his career. One side is satisfied, while the other side is in pain. I can't help but start thinking if there is a problem with our way of getting along. When I finally finished cleaning the dining room and threw the trash downstairs, I returned to the bedroom. Seeing Leo, who was already snoring in his sleep, I couldn't help but break down. Leo, get up! I shouted loudly as I pulled him. Arya, are you crazy? Woken up. He became irritable and pushed me away. In the middle of the night. Don't you let people sleep? You also know it's the middle of the night? I'm sick and still clean up alone. Is your conscience okay? How can you sleep? I was in tears, full of grievances. He angrily sat up and shouted at me. Is it over? Did I tell you to clean? Whose fault is it if you insist on doing it yourself? How can I bear it when it's so dirty? I squatted on the ground and cried loudly. Leo, you scoundrel. You just know I can't stand it, and wait for me to take the initiative to clean. Right? Isn't it always like this? Leo lay back down again and turned over to face away from me. Think whatever you want. I'm too lazy to explain to you. You're being unreasonable. 4. Since you don't want to clean up, why not treat guests outside? Every time you bring people home and make the house full of trash. In the end, I have to clean it up. Tell me, since I moved in, have you cleaned the house once? Others treat guests outside. Only you like to bring people home. How many times have they come this month? The more I thought about it, the more unwilling I became. I poured out all the accumulated complaints in my heart. Since Leo bought a house, he has been very fond of treating guests at home. Sometimes I cook, and sometimes they buy ingredients and cook by themselves. The latter is even more terrifying. Not only is the dining room dirty, but the kitchen and living room will also be in a mess by them. I have tactfully mentioned to Leo several times that there is no need to bring people home every time. It's more convenient outside. After eating, you can leave directly. It's simple and easy. But he argued plausibly, saying that those are all his entrepreneurial partners. The relationship is as deep as family. He likes to have meals at home with his family, which is more atmospheric. After graduating, Leo started a business with several good classmates and jointly founded a recording studio to help others compose, arrange, and record music. The business is not bad. I know that they played together in college. Now they are starting a business together, with several years of deep relationship. But there is no need to bring people home for meals all the time. This month alone, they have had dinner parties at home 4 times. Among them, do people even know the password to the front door of the house? Sometimes they don't even ring the doorbell. They directly open the door and come in, treating this place as their own. I told Leo that we should change the password. He said it wasn't necessary. Leo, did you hear me talking to you? Seeing that he was still pretending to sleep, I couldn't help but lift the blanket. What madness are you having in the middle of the night? He threw the blanket away and sat up looking at me. Okay. Since you want to ask clearly, then I'll tell you clearly. I just like to treat guests at home. So what? I not only invite people now, but I will invite people every day in the future. Can you stop me? 5. I was almost driven crazy by his shameless appearance and grabbed a pillow and threw it at him. Leo, get out. I pointed at the door. Get out. I don't want to see you. He sneered and said word by word. Do I need to remind you that this is my home? This house is bought by me. If anyone should leave, it should be you. At this moment, it was as if a basin of ice water was poured over my head. My heart instantly turned cold. I nodded. Okay, I'll leave. Wiping away my tears, I turned and left the bedroom, picking up the bag on the sofa. I ran out. On a summer night in a big city, it is still brightly lit outside, but looking at the brightness coming from the windows of each house, my heart is extremely sad. This city is so big, but there is no place for me. In the middle of the night, I wandered helplessly on the road. Homeless. I took out my phone and looked. It was 1:30 in the morning. There was no call on my phone. And there was no new message on WeChat. So late at night, I ran out of the house. Leo didn't look for me at all. His words, "This is my home. This house is bought by me. If anyone should leave, it should be you," seemed to be on repeat, and kept playing in my mind over and over again. In fact, this is not the first time he has said such words. Once, Leo had a childhood friend who came to the city to look for a job. Before finding a house temporarily, Leo let him move into his home to live first. That childhood friend was not polite at all. He never took the initiative to buy groceries and cook. He always waited for me to come back from work and cook. Many times, as soon as I pushed open the door, what I saw was him lying on the sofa, eating snacks and watching TV. That posture was really too unseemly. I was embarrassed to look directly at it. But he wouldn't be embarrassed at all. I mentioned to Leo several times why his childhood friend hadn't found a house yet. Leo said, "He is my best playmate when I was a child. With our relationship, he can live here as long as he wants." I said, "But I'm not comfortable with him living here. I want him to leave quickly." Leo got a little angry. "This is my house. I am willing to let him live here." At that time, after saying that, Leo realized that his wording was a bit wrong and quickly apologized to me. I thought it was an unintentional mistake on his part. Plus, he kept coaxing me, so I didn't care. However, he said the same words again today. I suddenly understood that what people say in a moment of impulse is not an unintentional mistake. It can only be an instinctive thought from the bottom of the heart. It is because of thinking like this at the bottom of the heart that it is said in a moment of impulse. This is his house that he bought. He is the master. He is qualified to make any decision. I am just fortunate to live in it. It is my great honor to be allowed to live here. And I still want to interfere with his opinion. Originally, he has always thought like this in his heart. He has never regarded me as one of his own, as an equal family member, or as the other half with whom he will spend the future together. 6. There was not a single person on the street in the middle of the night. I was a little scared. I looked around, hoping to find a hotel as soon as possible. Even a small inn would do. Suddenly, a figure dashed past me. I felt a pulling force. My bag was gone. Someone is snatching things. After realizing what had happened, I shouted at the rapidly running figure in front. But it was too late. The person quickly turned a corner and disappeared. In an instant, various emotions, such as shock, fear, helplessness, panic, and loneliness hit me. The taut string in me suddenly snapped. I sat down on the ground and burst into tears. The street in the middle of the night was empty and deserted. Only my crying echoed, seeming extremely desolate. Never before had I been so eager to go home as at this moment. I miss my parents. The feeling of home, being surrounded by warmth, and wanting to quickly fill the emptiness in my heart with that kind of warmth. I've decided. I'll go home now. Fortunately, I took my phone out of my bag just now. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to leave. I hailed a taxi and went straight to the train station. My home is in another nearby city. It only takes a little more than an hour by high-speed train. But there is no return trip for the time being. The fastest high-speed train is at 5:30 in the morning. I bought a ticket, got a temporary ID card, and waited quietly in the waiting room. After waiting for more than 2 hours, I finally got on the train. At the moment the train started moving, the corners of my mouth rose unconsciously. I'm going home. The little girl sitting opposite whispered to her mother. Why is that sister crying and laughing? Her mother smiled apologetically at me. 7 when I stood in front of my house. It was just after 7. Just as I was about to knock on the door, my mother opened the door from inside. Arya? She opened her mouth in surprise. Why are you back? I held back the urge to cry and said with a smile. It's Saturday today. I'm back to play for 2 days. My mother quickly pulled me in. Why did you come back so early? It would be better to take the train last night. You don't have to get up early, and you can stay at home for an extra night. My father came out when he heard the commotion. Seeing me, he was overjoyed. Oh, my daughter is back. Haven't had breakfast yet? I'll go buy it for you, my mother said and went out. I chatted with my father at home. After a while, my mother came back with my favorite small steamed buns and soy milk. While eating, my mother stared at my face for a while. Why are your dark circles so heavy? Did you not sleep well yesterday because you were rushing to come back? Yeah. I nodded. Not only that, I didn't sleep at all last night. After eating, go take a nap. Only when you have a good rest will you have energy. My mother stroked my head and said, yes. Go take a nap. My father also said, okay. I replied obediently. After having breakfast, I went to the bedroom to take a nap. The bed sheet was just laid by my mother. It was clean and fragrant. The familiar smell of home. I relaxed completely and fell asleep with a smile. This sleep lasted until noon. I was woken up by the smell of spare ribs. Are you up? Just in time. The meal has just been cooked. My father greeted me to sit down. Look. Your favorite braised spare ribs. Haven't had it for a long time. Right? Saliva is flowing down. I couldn't wait to pick up my chopsticks. The table was full of my favorite dishes. I ate voraciously. Eat slowly. No one is competing with you, my mother said. I just haven't had home-cooked meals for a long time. I miss them so much. I explained with a smile. I've told you many times. If you have time, go home. It's not too far. It's only an hour and a bit by train. My father complained. You always say you're busy. No matter how busy you are, come back at least once a month. Let your mother nourish you. Look how much thinner you've become. Dad. I'll come back often in the future. I solemnly promised him. Mom and Dad were very happy to hear this. After staying at home for 2 days, I felt extremely relaxed and happy. I haven't felt this way for a long time. On Sunday night, I had to take the high-speed train to return because I still had to go to work on Monday. Mom and Dad sent me to the train station and packed a big bag of delicious food for me. The mood was very different from when I came back. The wounds I suffered had been healed by my family. Now I was very happy. After getting on the train, I took out snacks and ate them slowly. Just as I was bored and admiring the scenery outside the window, my father sent me a WeChat message. Arya, open the bag, we packed things for you. There is a small bag on the inside. There is a card in it. I went to feel it in confusion. Sure enough, I took out a bank card. I replied to the message, Dad, what's the bank card for? My father replied, there are 500,000 in the card. I don't know if it's enough for the down payment for a house. If it's really not enough, buy a smaller one. As long as it's big enough for you to live alone. Although you are a girl, having your own house gives you confidence. Arya, Mom and Dad are not capable. We don't have money to buy you a big house. Sorry. I burst into tears immediately. When I was at home. Although Mom and Dad didn't ask anything, they must have guessed that something must have happened to me for me to go home in such a disheveled state. Yes. Disheveled. Blame me for not thinking it through. I went back on impulse without even thinking about what I looked like. I didn't even carry a bag. I only held a mobile phone. I was still wearing home clothes. I even wore slippers on my feet. No matter how you look at it, this doesn't seem like a proper outfit for going out. Now that I think about it. No wonder my mother stared at the slippers on my feet several times and wanted to say something but stopped. In the end, she didn't ask anything. They must be afraid of making me sad. So they didn't dare to ask. Right? Think about one's own precious daughter held in the palm. How much grievance must she have endured to take a train and run home alone in the early morning? They don't know how distressed they are. I think Mom and Dad must have figured out what happened almost. They must have imagined that I definitely had a fight with my boyfriend. That's his house. I must have been kicked out. They don't want me to suffer such grievance again. So they will give me money to let me buy a house. This is the real family who cares about oneself. If there is a little something wrong with me, they can all see it and guess what has happened to me. In order not to make me more sad, even if they are extremely anxious inside, they still don't dare to ask a word. How lucky I am to have such loving parents. Although I had a fight with my boyfriend and might even break up, I am not sad at all now. My heart is filled with my parents' love. I am not lacking in happiness. I wiped away my tears, calmed down my mood, and tried my best to make my tone stable. Dad, why are you giving me money? I don't need to buy a house. Renting a house is fine. Keep this money for you and Mom to retire. I called directly. I know that the money in this card is almost all of my parents' savings. Arya, this money was originally prepared as your dowry. Anyway, it will be given to you sooner or later. My dad said. Don't worry. Your mom and I still have some money left. Besides, we both have pensions. We all think it's good to buy a house. In the future, when Mom and Dad go to your place, there will be a place to stay. Right? After hearing this, I hesitated. Indeed, my parents are not far from me. I also want to pick them up often and let them stay for a while. Because I lived in Leo's house before. Although I really wanted my parents to come over, I was always embarrassed to ask. After all, we are not married yet. If I really have my own house, it must be very beautiful. Right? Well, Dad, I will go around when I have time to see if there is a suitable house. I decided to accept my parents' kindness. If I insist on refusing, they may always be worried. I still have some savings of my own. Added together, I can really afford the down payment for a small house. Even if it's not enough, I will borrow money and buy a house of my own with determination. At this moment, my heart is extremely firm. I want to buy a house. I will never be kicked out of the house again. 10 After hanging up the phone, my dad sent me a WeChat message again. Girl, regarding your relationship, your mom and I have never asked. We have never met that boy either and don't know what kind of person he is. But you are a mature adult. Your mom and I trust your vision and judgment. Since you are together, he must have his merits. But when two people get along and live together, there are many problems to face. This is much more complicated than campus love. We just want to tell you that if you are unhappy most of the time when you are together, then this relationship may not be suitable for you. Getting out of it earlier is also a good thing. You are the precious girl that mom and dad have loved since childhood. We only hope that you are simple, happy, safe and healthy. We have no other desires. I couldn't help breaking down again. And tears flowed down. My dad also said that he is introverted, clumsy with words, and not good at speaking. Isn't he quite good at speaking? It almost moves me to death. Okay? I replied to him, don't worry. I will definitely live a good life. 11 after the train arrived. It was already dark. I directly opened a room in a hotel near the company and stayed there. The next day, I applied for a dormitory from the company. Our company has always had dormitory arrangements. But after graduating, I lived with Leo and never enjoyed this benefit. The application for the dormitory was approved on the same day, and I could move in at night. After get off work, I went to buy bedding, toiletries, etc., and lived in the dormitory for one night first. When I woke up, I went directly to Leo's house. In order not to meet Leo, I specially took a day off to pack up and move. Fortunately, his house is equipped with a password lock. Otherwise, I might not be able to enter. Pushing open the door, a sour smell hit my face. Following the smell, I saw the instant noodle boxes thrown in the trash can. Leo didn't take out the trash when he went out in the morning. Not only that, I looked around the room. There were tissues thrown on the ground, a series of black footprints on the floor, and several snack bags scattered on the table. It seems that in the 2 days when I was away, he didn't clean up at all. I ignored it after taking a look, and went directly to the bedroom to sort out my clothes. I thought there weren't many things and it should be done quickly. Unexpectedly, when I sorted it out, there was a huge pile. After living together for 2 years, my belongings were all over every corner of the room. The 2 oversized suitcases I brought couldn't fit at all. I could only go back first and come back to transport the second batch later. After returning from the dormitory, I continued to sort things out. Unconsciously, it was already late in the afternoon. Looking at the time, it was already after 5 o'clock. Afraid of running into Leo coming back from work, I quickly threw all my things into the suitcase and left in a hurry while dragging it. 12 I admit that I have a bit of an evasive attitude. Whether my relationship with Leo should continue or not, I want to think carefully after calming down. I don't want to make any decision impulsively. Sometimes I can't figure it out. Why two people who clearly loved each other at the beginning can't live together in the end? Is it because the trivial life has slowly worn away the love between us? Does he have no love for me anymore? So he doesn't care about my thoughts again and again? Or am I too indulgent and accommodating to him, making him start to push his luck? Or perhaps what couples need is not only love but also considering whether their personalities and habits are compatible. In fact, the two of us are simply not suitable for living together. Obviously, when we were in college, and not living together yet, we were very happy in our relationship. Leo and I are from the same university and the same grade but different departments. We are both members of the student union. One day after a student union meeting, everyone had left. Due to my personal emotions, I was sitting there in a daze. "Arya, why are you crying?" He came over and asked me. Only then did I realize that my face is covered with tears. Perhaps in urgent need of someone to talk to. At that time, I wasn't very familiar with him yet. I still told him what had happened to me. I was doing part-time flyer distribution outside. After 3 days of hard work, the others didn't pay me. They said that I didn't distribute according to the rules. Many flyers were not given to the target group and were all wasted. I was timid and didn't dare to argue with others. So I just came back silently. The more I thought about it, the more wronged I felt. That store owner just wants to renege on the debt. Leo concluded. Seeing that you are a little girl and easy to bully. To my surprise, he said without hesitation. Tomorrow, I will go with you to find that store owner and get the salary. At that time, I had only said a few words to him. He could have simply comforted me a few words. But he took the initiative to offer to help me. It really moved me. What impressed me even more was that he took me to that store and argued firmly, saying that if the other party didn't pay, he would call the police. How many flyers did you ask her to distribute every day? The agreed upon remuneration before is all in the WeChat chat records. These are all legal evidence. His tone was calm. Perhaps that store owner was really bullying the weak and fearing the strong. In the end, he simply gave me all the money. Not a penny less. That day, seeing Leo's fearless and imposing appearance in front of that store owner, I really admired him from the bottom of my heart. At that moment, it seemed that he was emitting a radiant light. Fascinating. As a freshman, I still regarded myself as a child. When facing adults in society, I always lacked confidence. But he had the courage to argue firmly with others. Like a real adult, he gave people a very reliable feeling. Later, Leo also told me not to do part-time jobs like distributing flyers. It's tiring and the pay is low. It's not worth it. He introduced me to a tutoring job. The child he tutored was in the same community, so we often took the bus to do part-time jobs together. I taught high school math for grade 1. There were some knowledge points that I didn't remember. He would also help me summarize and sort them out and guide me on what way to explain problems to others so that it's easier for them to understand. Whether in life or study, he has taught me a lot and given me too much help. For such a boy, of course I will have a good impression. But I am introverted, adhering to a girl's reserve. I have always been. Fortunately, it was Leo who spoke first later. On Valentine's Day, he confessed to me. He said that he had liked me since he joined the student union. He asked if I could be his girlfriend. I nodded happily. During college, we studied while being in love. Time passed quickly. Leo was very good to me except for one thing. He was too busy. Later, he became the president of the student union. While being busy with school affairs, he also did part-time jobs to earn money. Sometimes, I could only see him once a day. During dinner, he had a fanatical enthusiasm for making money. He said that he wanted to start saving money in college and strive to buy a house within 2 years after graduation. After learning about his background, I finally understood why he was so hardworking. Leo's parents passed away when he was young. He has been living with various relatives in turn. The relatives have agreed to take turns taking care of him. He lives in this relative's house for a while, and then in that relative's house for a while. Since I was young, I have felt like a rootless grass, without a fixed place to live. I feel particularly uneasy. After getting drunk once, he cried and told me, "Arya, do you know that I dream of having my own house? I want to have a home where I can live down to earth." At that time, I especially pitied him. No wonder he is so mature and sensible. He has to rely on himself for everything. Can he not be precocious? In order to save money, he is usually very frugal. But he is very generous to me. The gifts he gave me are not cheap. The clothes and shoes he bought for me are all branded. But he buys clothes that cost only dozens of yuan on Taobao for himself. I inadvertently said that I wanted to take my driver's license test during college. He secretly signed me up without telling me. Afterward, I transferred the application fee to him. But he insisted on not taking it. I am sure that once upon a time, he really loved me because I could feel the happiness of being loved. But now, I am not sure if he still loves me. Since when did it start? Probably after we graduated and started living together. Our conflicts are increasing, and arguments and cold wars have begun to appear. Finally, up to now, I have seriously considered breaking up with him for the first time. I only know that now I don't want to see him. I'm afraid that once I see him, I can't help but get angry. I am usually mild-tempered and rarely get angry. But since living with him, I have found that I have become a lot more irritable. After graduating, every time I am unhappy, it is because of him. And this time, on Friday night when we had an argument. And now it's Monday. For a full 3 days. He hasn't contacted me once. Perhaps it's because of my unreserved love that makes him more and more convinced that I can't leave him. It's my fault for being spineless. In the past, every time we had conflicts and cold wars, it was always me who took the initiative to find a way out. He is used to it. Regarding me, he is fearless. I think he is also waiting for me to take the initiative to go back now. But this time I am extremely firm and will never go back again. From now on, I will also work hard and earn money to buy my own house. 16. The company has an external training department. Employees in this department need to travel frequently across the country. It's very tiring. But it can quickly improve one's abilities and the pay is also good. Originally, when I first joined the company, I was in this department. After 2 business trips, I found it too exhausting. Leo also felt sorry for me. He said that I didn't need to work so hard. With him earning money at home, it would be enough. So I applied to the company to transfer to a department with a lower salary but a more leisurely clerical job. Now, I suddenly understand that relying on no one is better than relying on oneself. After changing departments, the company quickly arranged a business trip for me. Just 3 days later, I remembered that after my bag was snatched that day, my ID card was still inside. Just when I was about to go to the Public Security Bureau to reapply for an ID card, I received a call from there. It turned out that after I shouted that night, someone nearby heard it and immediately chased the person who snatched my bag. After chasing for a while, they finally caught up. The kind-hearted person was afraid that when he came back, I would no longer be in the same place. So he took the bag snatcher directly to the Public Security Bureau. Having retrieved my bag and found my ID card still inside, I was satisfied. Did the kind-hearted person leave a phone number? I want to thank him in person. I asked the police. Oh. That person said there's no need to look for him. His name is Lei Feng. The policeman said with a smile. Quite humorous. Because of this stranger, my mood also improved. 17. On the day of my business trip, I entered the high-speed railway station with my suitcase and finally received Leo's call. After all this time. Are you still angry? He sighed. Arya. Come home. I miss you. Yang. I have moved out. I think we are not suitable for living together. I hesitated for a long time. The words break up still didn't come out of my mouth. What? You moved out? Leo exclaimed. Where did you move to? Where else can you go? I smiled wryly. It turned out that he also knew that I had nowhere to go. But he could still ignore me for several days and never think about where I would live. Moreover, all my things at home had been moved away. And he didn't even notice? How indifferent was he? Our company provides dormitories. That's all. I have to get on the train. After saying that, I hung up the phone. In the middle, he called many times. But I didn't answer and concentrated on familiarizing myself with the relevant materials for external training on the train. When I arrived at my destination, it was already evening. When I arrived at the hotel, Leo's call came again. This time I answered. Arya. I looked at the closet at home. Your clothes are all gone. What do you mean by this? Are you breaking up with me? As soon as he opened his mouth, it was an interrogative tone. I was stunned. The 2 words that I had hesitated for a long time and couldn't bear to say came out so easily from him. We had been together for so long and had argued and had cold wars. But we had never said the words break up. This was the first time. And it was he who said it. Things have still changed. Now he can blurt out the words break up. Since you think so, then let's do it. I bit my lower lip, paused, and said, Yang. Let's break up. A teen that day. Leo gritted his teeth and said, As you wish. And then hung up the phone. We never contacted each other again. I threw myself into my work and went on business trips crazily. Sometimes I was outside for more than 20 days in a month. I found that people are really adaptable. When I gritted my teeth and persevered through the most difficult initial period, I suddenly got used to this high-intensity work rhythm. Sometimes when I had a day off occasionally, I felt like I was wasting time and always wanted to find something to do. Now I rarely lie in bed and leisurely scroll through my phone. I am either working or studying, constantly enriching myself. Wasting time makes me feel a sense of guilt. At the same time, hard work brings equal rewards. My salary is several times what it used to be. Looking at the growing balance in my bank card, I am extremely satisfied. In the 4th month after the breakup, a new real estate project opened near my company. I went to take a look. There was a small apartment, more than 70 square meters, with 2 bedrooms and 1 living room. The down payment was just what I could afford. After seeing the model apartment, I couldn't help being tempted. I called my parents and told them about this. They were also excited and said they would come and take a look. The day before my day off, I bought high-speed rail tickets for them. I took my parents to see the house, and they were also very satisfied. My dad was beaming. "This one, it's close to your company. You won't have to work so hard in the future." My mom also said, "Oh, our Arya will have her own house from now on." On that day, we decided on the house. At the same time, all the money in my hand was used up. But so what? The house won't be delivered immediately. By the time I get the house, I will definitely have saved up another sum of money. Just enough for decoration. I have to work hard and earn money again. This feeling of working hard really can be addictive. 19 Occasionally, I still think of Leo, but because I am too busy, usually his face just flashes in my mind for a moment, and then I am immersed in other things again. Sometimes I scroll through his moments. He is having a meal and playing music with friends at home. He looks very happy. That's good. Presumably without my complaints. He can bring his friends home more freely. Although sometimes I feel a little pity. 2 people who once loved each other, with several years of relationship, suddenly ended just like that. But I don't regret breaking up with him. After leaving him, I seriously thought about it. We really aren't suitable for living together. Breaking up is an inevitable result. If we drag it on any longer and conflicts accumulate deeply, we might become resentful couples in the future. Just when I was slowly making myself forget him, Leo appeared again. After work, he was waiting downstairs at my company. As if nothing had happened, he said to me with a smile, "Arya, I'll take you to eat." I stood where I was and looked at him. Yang, we've already broken up. You're still so angry. It's been almost half a year. Haven't you calmed down yet? He moved closer to me, his nose almost touching mine. You also know that we've been broken up for almost half a year. I'm living quite well now, and don't want to go back to my previous life. I turned my head aside and distanced myself from him. Seeing my serious attitude, Leo panicked. "Arya, I didn't really want to break up with you. I thought you were just saying it in anger. Is breaking up a joke?" I said calmly. "Yang, there are countless couples breaking up in the world. We are just an ordinary pair among them. There's nothing strange about it. I can accept it. And I believe you can too." When I was leaving, he grabbed my arm. His eyes red. "No. I can't accept it." 20 Since that day. As long as I'm not on a business trip, Leo will surely be waiting downstairs at my company after work. I don't know how he got to know my immediate supervisor. Soon, he became sworn brothers with my supervisor, and looked as if they had a deep friendship. From my supervisor, he can know my business trip arrangements in advance every month. He remembers my work schedule even better than I do. Every time I come back from another place, he knows which station or airport I'll arrive at and at what time. He can always be waiting there in advance. But I haven't taken his car even once and insist on taking a taxi by myself. He is not discouraged. He silently drives behind me, and still does the same next time. This feeling of his being attentive, considerate, and thoughtful, I haven't felt it for a long time. In the first year of living together, he still insisted on driving me to work every morning and picking me up at night. Because the places where we work are not in the same direction, he needs to take a detour. Feeling sorry that he had to drive for such a long time every day, I said that there was no need to pick me up and drop me off in the future. I could take the subway by myself. And he immediately agreed. Later, he never picked me up and dropped me off again. Even once after work. It was raining heavily outside. I called him to pick me up. He directly transferred 100 yuan to me and told me to take a taxi back. Later, I found that he was less and less willing to put his mind on me. Now that we've broken up, he is willing to go to the trouble. But I won't be moved anymore. I've seen his feelings for me fade. I don't want to experience it again. Finally, when he was waiting downstairs again, I agreed to his invitation to have a meal. Some words still need to be made clear all at once. 21 at the dinner table. Leo attentively put food on my plate. Arya, eat more. Business trips are very tiring. Right? You've lost weight. You must be exhausted. His tone was full of concern. In fact, girls don't need to work so hard. As I said before, you can just do some easy work. I'll be responsible for striving for our future at home. You don't need to worry about things like houses and cars. Even for the future education of our children, you don't need to worry. He had said these words to me before. In terms of making money, he is indeed much better than me. At a young age, he became the boss. Although the recording studio is not large in scale, the business volume is good. After graduation, his income has been steadily increasing. He also achieved buying a house within 2 years. When we were living together, he was mostly responsible for most of our daily expenses. He really has the confidence to say such words. But I have tasted the feeling of struggling on my own and don't want to rely on him anymore. Everything he has is his, not mine. He can give it to me and also take it back at any time. I never want to experience being driven out of someone's house again. Yang, I want to go on business trips. I don't think it's hard because I need to work hard to make money. I just bought a house. Now I don't even have enough money for decoration. I explained calmly. What? Arya, you bought a house? His tone was surprised. Why did you buy a house? Don't we have a house to live in? If you think it's too small, I can change to a bigger one in the future. That's your house. Not mine. I said calmly. Arya, I'm sorry. Are you still angry about that thing? I apologize to you. It's all my fault. That night, I shouldn't have impulsively told you to leave nor said those words. I was a jerk. He eagerly explained to me. I was wrong. That's our house. It's our common home. You told me to get out. You told me to leave. You said that was your house. I reminded him. Even now, when I mention this sentence, I still feel the lingering pain. 22. I'm sorry. Arya, I didn't know this sentence would hurt you so much. Hit me or scold me. As long as you can vent your anger, you can treat me however you want. He looked at me pleadingly. Yang, breaking up is not an impulsive decision. In these few months of calmness, I've seriously thought about it. We may really not be suitable. I said calmly. Don't you realize that although you always say that's our home, in your heart, in your subconscious, you always think that it's only your house? No, Arya, I don't. Leo was anxious to defend himself. Do you remember the matter of decorating the house back then? I interrupted him. You said that you like light colors. The walls, curtains, and sofas at home must all be light in color. You were enthusiastically arranging your new house and said that you finally have your own home. But from beginning to end, you never asked for my opinion. All the decorations at home are according to your preferences. You said that it's our future home. But you never asked me what style I like. When buying furniture, I saw a set of mahogany dining table and told you it was very beautiful. But you ignored me and went straight to look at the style you liked. Several times. When I said I wanted to keep a cat, you refused. You said cat hair would fly everywhere and cat poop was too smelly. I even promised that I would clean it up thoroughly. But you still didn't agree. You said you wanted to design a room dedicated to playing music at home, install soundproof walls, and place various musical instruments inside. So you knocked through 2 guest bedrooms and turned it into a music room. You even told me not to enter that room casually, saying it was your private domain. To be honest, at that time I was really sad. But at that time I still loved you. So I kept comforting myself. You had an obsession with your own house because of your childhood experiences and living in other people's homes for too long. I made excuses for you by myself and then silently forgave you. I was still happy for you. Finally, you realized your dream. You have your own house and don't have to stay at other people's homes anymore. At this point, Leo on the opposite side was already in tears. 23 Sorry. Arya. I didn't know that I had unintentionally hurt you so deeply. Leo kept apologizing and was sobbing. That night, after you drove me out, I suddenly woke up. In fact, in your eyes, I was never your girlfriend on an equal footing, but your dependency. No. Arya. You're not, he hurriedly explained. I suddenly understood that except for parents, no one is always reliable. We can't pin our hopes on anyone. I looked at him, my voice a little choked. Yang. I once loved you very much. But this love was gradually worn away in the trivial days. In fact, the person I love more is myself. I don't want to be wronged anymore. I don't want to be driven out of the house by others again and be told that it's his house. Arya. Don't worry. In the future, there is no future. I interrupted him. We broke up. In the future, I will have my own house. I will decorate the house in the way I like. The house will be mainly in light green tones. There will be a large balcony with a swing chair on it. The walls of the bedroom will be painted light yellow. And the chandelier is in the shape of a lily. I also want to decorate a study room for myself. There will be a large bookcase filled with books I like to read. There will also be a large desk where I can work at ordinary times. Moreover, I want to keep a cat. A chubby orange cat. I pictured the appearance of my future home in my mind. And my tone was full of longing. After finishing speaking, I put the tissue box beside Leo's hand and said to him, I'll leave first. Finally, I poured out all the thoughts that had been pent up in my heart. It was like venting. The little bit of unwillingness in my heart finally dissipated. Now I am extremely relaxed. As if I have finally completely walked out of that past relationship. My relationship with Leo is now completely over. 24 For some time after that, Leo didn't come to find me again. I still worked hard to earn money. One day, Sister Yang in the company asked me if I had a partner. I said no. Sister Yang said that her friend asked her to help introduce a partner to her younger brother, Xiao Yao. I have also met this younger brother of my friend. He is tall and mighty. He is also a firefighter. He is also generous and cheerful. Why don't you go and meet him? If you don't like him, it doesn't matter. Just come back and tell me. Fate can't be forced. Sister can understand. Sister Yang's tone was sincere. Just do me a favor. Okay? My friend pesters me every day. Sister Yang has helped me a lot at work. With her saying this, I couldn't refuse. Originally, I just wanted to go through the motions and help Sister Yang deal with her friend. Unexpectedly, as soon as I met Ryan, he said, It's you? I was also stunned. Have we met? He nodded. To be precise, I have seen your ID photo. I have a very good memory. I originally thought it was just the same name. I didn't expect it to be really the same person. I was completely confused. After listening to his explanation, I realized that he was the one who caught the person who snatched my bag. Oh, you are that Lei Feng. I suddenly realized and quickly stood up and bowed. Thank you very much. It should be. It should be. He had a very nice smile and extremely white teeth. By the way, you run very fast. I remembered that when that person snatched my bag, he ran away in a flash. After I chased for a while, I couldn't see him anymore. It's not that I'm proud. In terms of running, except for professional athletes, no one can compare with us firefighters. We train every day. I found that we could talk quite well. While eating and chatting, time passed quickly. After the meal, Ryan very gentlemanly sent me back to my residence. 25 after that meeting, Ryan was quite active towards me. He asked me out several times. But because I was on a business trip, I couldn't make it. Every day he would send me messages and tell me what he did all day and what interesting things he encountered. Generally, he talked more and I talked less. Suddenly one day, Leo, who hadn't appeared for a long time, sent me a message. It was a video he took. The content was his newly renovated house. Light green tones, large balcony, swing chair, light yellow bedroom, lily chandelier. His huge music room has also been turned into a study room. There are log bookshelves and desks inside. He actually renovated the whole house again according to what I had said. Leo said, Arya, see if there is anything missing or unsatisfactory. I can change it again. You don't like me bringing friends home for dinners. I won't bring them anymore in the future. You like keeping cats. We can go and get one together. I replied to him, Yang, you don't need to do this. I don't need it now. Leo hurriedly called, Arya, I was selfish before, but I have already realized this shortcoming now. I will change. Believe me. After you left, I realized that without you, this is not a home at all. It's just an empty house. I was wrong before. I thought having a house meant having a home. Now I know that having a lover and affection is called having a home. Yang. Arya. Don't rush to refuse. Okay? If you still don't feel secure, I can transfer the house to you. We can go through the formalities tomorrow. I can give you whatever you want. You just left me and you're not used to it yet. After some time, you'll get used to it. Yang. In this world, no one can't live without anyone else. No, I can't live without you. His tone was firm. 26 after another business trip. The company gave me a very large bonus. I was thinking in my heart that I would take my parents on a trip. In the afternoon, I received a call from a real estate agent again, saying that the house had been completed and could be handed over next month. He asked me if I was free now and could visit it first. I replied that of course I could and would go and see it after work. Hearing good news one after another today, I feel that my mood is soaring. I was happily humming while being busy. As soon as it was time to get off work, I immediately grabbed my bag and rushed out. When I got downstairs, I suddenly froze. There were two men standing in front of me. Seeing me appear, both of them rushed over with delighted expressions. Arya. They both spoke at the same time, and then looked at each other in surprise. Ryan is worthy of being a firefighter. He reacts faster. He said to me first, Arya, are you free after work? I'll take you to eat. Leo looked anxious. Arya, who is this person? You won't go with him, will you? I booked your favorite restaurant. I waved my hand at them. Sorry, I'm not free today. I won't go with anyone who invites me. Giving them an apologetic look, I strode out. Men should all step aside. Looking at my house is the most important thing. The setting sun is setting and the breeze is blowing on my face. Everything is so beautiful. 27 one night. It was already past 10 o'clock. I received a call from Leo's friend. He said that Leo was drunk in a bar and asked me to pick him up. Please send him off. We have broken up. I replied politely and hung up the phone. 10 minutes later, Leo called. As soon as I answered, his sobs came from the receiver. Arya, do you really not want me anymore? His words were indistinct and did indeed sound drunk. Before I could answer, he continued. In the past, every time I was drunk, you would be very distressed. You said that my stomach was not good and advised me to drink less. You would also cook hangover soup for me and feed it to me spoon by spoon. But now, when I'm this drunk, you don't care about me at all. As he spoke, he burst into loud sobs. Arya, I was wrong. Come back. Okay? Sorry. I don't love you anymore. I sighed and still cruelly spoke my true thoughts. After going through this period of torment, I found that I had completely let go of that past relationship. If you don't love anymore, don't force it. From now on, I don't want to wrong myself anymore. A month later, I suddenly received a text message showing that a large sum of money had been received in my bank card. I asked everyone around me, but no one had sent me money. Suddenly, like a flash of inspiration, I thought of a possibility and called Leo. He said that he had sold the house and had sent all the money to me. You're crazy. Why sell the house? My first reaction was heartache. Of course, it was heartache for the house. I knew how much effort Leo had put into that house. He had always wanted a home. It was not until he had a house that he was no longer adrift. That was his first house in his life. A residence completely belonging to him. It represented not only assets, but also condensed his wish from childhood to adulthood. It was the realization of his dream. And now, he actually sold the house. Arya, without you, it's just a house, not a home. His voice was full of desolation. You know how much I once liked that house. But later, I didn't dare to go back. I was afraid of facing the empty home. I couldn't sleep all night when I lived in it. I just wanted to escape. Now that the house is sold, I feel unprecedentedly relieved. Since he had already said so, I couldn't persuade him anymore. But of course I couldn't take his money. We had already broken up. I knew his card number and sent the money back. Later, I heard that Leo had donated all that money to the welfare home. He said that he would never buy a house again. He didn't deserve to have his own home. 28 My new home has been renovated and dared for half a year. I found a rest day and started to move. Early in the morning, Ryan was waiting downstairs. Recently, we have been in frequent contact. When he heard that I was moving today, he offered to help. After we were done, it was almost noon. I was so tired that I collapsed on the ground and didn't want to move a finger. Let me rest for a while. I'll treat you to a meal later, I gasped. After being busy for half a day, and Ryan did much more than me, he didn't show any sign of tiredness. Instead, he had the leisure to admire the decorative painting hanging on my wall. Where did you buy this painting? I'll also buy 2 and hang them on the wall of my new home. He nodded seriously. Good taste. And I only had one thought in my mind. This person has such great physical strength. Seeing that I didn't answer, he turned around and looked at me, raising his eyebrows. Is it so tiring? Forget it. How about not going out to eat at noon? I'll cook. Of course I'd be happy not to go out. But this is just after moving in. The refrigerator is empty. There's no food at all. It's okay. I have food at home. Come to my place. Saying that, he opened the door. If you have the time for this, it would be better to eat outside. I stood up reluctantly. Your place must be farther than an outside restaurant. I don't have the energy to go. It's not far. It's just across the way. Then, to my astonishment, he opened the door opposite. You live here? My jaw almost dropped in surprise. I was originally planning to buy a house. Seeing that your location is not bad, I simply bought one. Coincidentally, it's just opposite yours. However, I chose an all-inclusive decoration package for my place, so it was finished before yours. Oh. I hadn't reacted yet and nodded in a daze. How about it? Are you interested in visiting your neighbor's home? And by the way, taste my cooking? He made an inviting gesture. Okay. I stepped in, with the corners of my mouth gently curving up. Well, this neighbor is someone worth getting along with.